Tonight I came here to try to face a painful chapter of my life, to share it with you with honesty and with authenticity, and to just give you the facts and not feeling the need to say anything more than the truth, because as a great person once said, the truth is brilliant by itself. So my revised version of my speech has 4 components. It has crisis, my response, your response, and God. Sometimes in life, it's a lot more simple than we think, isn't it? So let me tell you about the crisis. When I was 15 years old, my parents had a very bitter, ugly divorce, and my mom was left in an emotional meltdown. And it happens to the best of us. And my father was here in Toronto, and he was having his own emotional meltdown too. And here we have 2 parents who are having, simultaneous meltdowns. So you have a Jewish family in financial and emotional ruins. And I'm here to tell you, a lot of people in the Gentile world, they don't think that, you tell them Jewish families and they don't think such a thing is possible. But I'm here to tell you, I'm here to remind you, I'm here to assure you that such hardships and such struggles do happen in Jewish families. It sounds like a Hollywood movie, but it's my life. My twin brother Harlan and I, we ventured off on our own to try to make it go, try to make it work. So what was my response? Well, I did a lot of things to try to survive that I'm not so proud of. I was always a little bit creative, a little bit maybe ingenious in some ways, and so I did whatever I could to survive. Let me give you a few examples, okay? And you're not going to bother me if you laugh, because looking back, it is kind of comical. So when you have to be 18 years old to sign a lease, right? Legally, you have to be 18 years old. So how was I supposed to overcome this obstacle for my twin brother and I? So I scratched my head, and I went down to Queen Street, and I rented a fake mustache. And you can imagine how ridiculous this looked, going in to see a superintendent with this ridiculous fake mustache. I looked like, like the kosher Lanny McDonald halfway through puberty. It was ridiculous, guys, but this was my life. But thankfully, it worked. And I signed the rental agreement, and my twin brother and I had our own bachelor apartment on Roehampton Avenue. Security deposit. How was I going to come up with a security deposit? Everybody knows when you go to rent an apartment, the first thing they ask you for is a security deposit, right? So, again, I scratched my head and I hatched a plan. There was this one kid, I shouldn't mention any names, but his name was Miklos Zambada. Oh, okay, I think I screwed that up. But anyway, he's probably in a penitentiary somewhere by now. He was a bully, guys. He was, and I gotta tell you, he was an anti-Semitic bully, and he was on my hit list for months. But I wasn't strong enough to fight against this guy, right? So I came up with this plan. The plan was this, is that when I was with my guidance counselor, I would sneak in to the box where all the yearbook deposits were. And I found the yearbook deposit of this Mr. Zambada. Okay, and I'm not proud of this, but I pulled it out. Okay, when the guidance counselor went to the washroom, I pulled out the check, stuffed it in my pocket, and I went home. And then I scratched out Northern Secondary, and I put 120 Roehampton Avenue. And I took it to the landlord. The landlord said, "Who is this Mr. Zambada that's offering the security deposit?" And I said, "He's a dear friend of the family." After all these stunts, guys, after all these stunts and all these rabbits I pulled out of the hat, I was still in financial disarray, and I was still, more importantly, I was in emotional disarray. And where to go? So thank God somebody led me to the Jewish Family and Child Service. And I'm telling you, they were a lifeline, and they were a life preserver for my twin brother and I. I think they deserve a round of applause right now. Guys, we met 2 social workers there who I'm going to tell you I'm convinced saved our lives. I know names, we shouldn't mention names, but I want to give them their due. The names were Wilf and Karen, And you can imagine at 15 years old, Karen was, you know, the face of empathy and compassion. Wilf was the face of practicality and logic. And together, they helped us map out a plan for budgeting, how to manage our finances. They gave us financial support so I didn't have to pull these kind of stunts that were hanging over my conscience. Because I knew at 15 years old, even as creative as I was, that these stunts were wrong. And they helped with some crucial financial assistance. More importantly, they helped with the healing of the wounds of isolation and abandonment that we, my twin brother and I, were going through at the time. So I wanted to say to you guys before I go, because I know the United Jewish Appeal is a prime supporter of the Jewish Family and Child Service. And I wanted to say to you, as much pain, and it was painful, and as much pain and suffering as my twin brother and I went through as we tried to fend for ourselves in the big city at 15 years old, guys, it's 2017. Society, the world is so complex, and there's hundreds, if not thousands of kids going through something more intense and more painful than we went through 30 years ago. So I say to you, I'm here because my twin brother and I got through it from your help. And now I want to do my part to make sure the kids that are suffering in the same way get the same support that we got, so they have a fighting chance to be at the podium speaking here one day the way I am speaking to you right now. I thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you very much.
Ieden, thank you very much for your courage and for sharing your story with us tonight. I know that each and every one of us here was completely moved by your experience and inspired by your strength. I mean, to be alone at 15 years old, on the street with your brother, and having to do things which probably were not first nature to you was incredibly challenging, and thank God, like you said, JF&CS was there to help. Ieden's story is a poignant illustration of how the work we do really does change lives, and he's but one example of the thousands of Jewish people helped by UJA every year, and the incredible impact this organization has on our community. And for UJA, it's my, from UJA, it's my honor to give you a small gift, and thank you very much for sharing your story with us. So if it hasn't become